Welcome back, guys. Today is our day 8, and we have so far looked into a lot of transformations that we use data services really well by using all the transformations. But as there was a little confusion on one or two transformations which I tried to show yesterday, I'm kind of repeating them without any tough transformations embedded in between. I will do just the key generation transform along along with I would do the XML as a source job, and we have to go ahead and then do few other things like loading a sales fact table, and today we'll complete the lookup because yesterday I couldn't find a scenario, but today I looked at the tutorial. They gave a nice scenario which we'll be going forward with the lookup transform using that, and also we'll see a real-time job execution and the test mode, and we are going to configure your job servers, access servers, and the central repository, adding you to administrator, everything. And also I have on list is the data quality presentation, so we are going to do all this at a time. So I think you have enough energy to take all this into your mind, and the more I tell you, the more confused you will be. But let us start doing it, and we'll see if there is something overloaded. I will stop there and recap anything whichever you want. So here, as part of yesterday's session, I was trying to show you a key generation transform which I wanted to put as part of the history preserving transform and then show you. Let us do the key generation even without history preserving. It is a very normal scenario. You always need this key generation transform, and we will try to put one or more transforms which we have there and see how they work. So let me try to build one more a small job here in which I would show you that. So I'm taking a new batch job. I'm naming it as JB underscore EDW underscore keygen. So it would be just for the key generation as a sample, and let us give it a number. 007 should be a good number for it. So straightforward. Let us forget about whether we have what is this history preserving or not. When you wanted to generate a sequential number on a table in a data warehouse environment, which is a surrogate ID, this is how you do it. It can be a dimensional table, it can be a transaction table, it doesn't matter. But if you want to put a surrogate ID on that, when the natural key is missing on the table, we'll have to actually use the key generation. That is the purpose of it. So I'm going to do very quick and dirty. I don't take too much of time to get this happening. So we'll see if I can do it better today so that you understand the key generation easily. So I'm just trying to put on a data flow. I don't have even a workflow. It is a very simple blueprint it's going to be. So I'll take a source table, that could be anything whichever we have looked at so far. Let me take the new table instead of ODS customer, because you might have bored with the tables which we saw on the customer. So if I go to ODS, I have more tables. Let me take ODS employee as my example. But let me see if I have data in it. I don't have data, so that won't be the right example. Let me take ODS region. Do I have data? Yes, I do have data here, but there is already a surrogate ID, so I don't think that is also a relevant example. I mean, when there is an indexing column, I don't want to take that an example. Materials, let us see. Yeah, in this materials, if someone wants to count, there is no sequential number here. You have to count it, or you have to ask the tool to count it. It says 12 records fetched. Let us create a dummy material dimension table. Yesterday we saw how we create a material dimension table by using XML as a source. That is one thing. We are going to repeat it again today. But before we do that, even if I wanted to straightforward move this table into the target and put in a sequential column for it, how do we do it? Guys, do you have any problem hearing me? Because I see there is a pop-up here saying you might experience network difficulties. Let me know if you have any trouble hearing me. Okay, so because there is a pop-up, I'm just checking with you. Okay, so we are going to do a very simple job here. So I found a table which I can make use of it. It is ODS material. So the first thing whenever you wanted to build a mapping is you'll have to import the table into your data store, because I don't have the table here. So I right click and say import by name, put the table name here. I'll get the table and I can drag it and drop it into my work area. I make it as a source and I directly put an query transform here. I'm not going to rename it even, I don't take much time, but you'll have to rename it in general. And here I'm going to do a straightforward load, and this is, though it is a primary key, it doesn't have the sequential order. It is in its own way. It's a unique identifier, but which is in a non-readable format. If you see here, it is in a very complex alphanumeric code. So for a simple way of understanding how many records we have, and even before building a type 2 dimension or anything, you can always put a key generation here. So I will say new output column, which I am going to call it as surrogate ID directly, and it's an integer always because it's an ID. And in the next place, I just take a transformation wherein I can get it from here. So I click on the key generation, drag it here, and connect it my query. And finally, on the target side, always I can do a template table, which is easier for me. So I'm doing the template table and I'm going to name it as mtrl underscore dim underscore key gen. It's just a sample table, guys. It doesn't make any sense to pull this, but then I wanted to give you a nice example so that you understand it easily. So in the surrogate ID, what I'm trying to do is, first thing, what will happen at the first time when you generate, because currently I don't have the target table in place, it is not going to generate us anything. So let me quickly run this job to only generate this table. You need not worry about what we are doing. All I am doing is generating a dummy table for myself, because I can't go and write an create table or a DDL statement in the database, which is going to take even more time. So quick and dirty, I'm going to just run this job so that the table gets generated. We make that as a permanent table, and then we start putting the key generation there. So treat this just as a dummy job, guys. Oh, because I opened up a new repository, you see the job server is not working. So how to make your job server work is, you have to add this repository to your to your local repository. Sorry, you'll have to add the local repository to the job server. And while we do this, you can easily learn. So now I created a new repository. Even sometime later, I'm going to show you how to create your own repository in your environment, how to configure the job server. But it won't take too longer. So I'm going to quickly do it. If someone is able to catch it, that is fine. If someone is not able to understand what I did even, that is fine. I'm going to redo it for you. So I'm going to the server manager. Here I say edit job server, and I'm going to say add. In the add, I can add one more repository. So I take MySQL, and my ODBC source is tutorial, which I created just today, and password and everything is the same. So when I say apply, it gets added. So it's not an unique port. Okay, because this job server, the port was already being used by other repository, it wrote me that error. But I have one of this and one of this. I wanted to edit the name, so I forget to edit the name. So I will say jbs underscore I will say tutorial better. So this is the new, the job server port message broker SM has been changed. Okay, okay, no worries. Let it throw that error. I'm fine, because that won't hurt me. So I did not enable the SNMP and all, which is not required for me. And now I have two job servers. I have to just restart to make sure. that I connect to that job server. Currently, if you see in the repository, the job server has a cross symbol here, which means I'm not connected to the job server. So I have to exit and come back so that I can get connected to the job server when I log in. So there is no magic I did. I added my repository to the existing job server. I have created kind of a duplicate instance saying use the same job server, but you see now the job server is active. After I have added it has become active here. So I go back, I open my project, I would run my key generation transform, which I have built just now. If I say execute, now the job server will not throw any error, and it should. This one is only creating me a table, guys. Don't get. Don't try to put any kind of effort here. All I try to do is create the material dim key generation table, and when the table is created, I go here and I say make the template table as a permanent table. How I do it is this: how import table, and it becomes permanent table. Now I go and I wanted to use the key generation. If I show you the data in this particular table by going into the database. Hold on, guys, someone is pinging me. So here all I'm trying to do is I wanted to show you whatever table I have created. It could be with some data. Let me log off from Gmail, guys, because I know someone would be pinging me thinking I'm online. So let me refresh this so that we get the material table here, which I just created. This is the one, and I will say delete data because I don't want data in it. All I want is just the table structure. So if you are with me, you should not have got confused at this moment because we are doing nothing. We just trying to delete data from this particular table. So hold on just a second. Um, I'm getting the table ready. So error code. Why? Okay. Let me. You'll also have to do in the same way whenever required. You want to create a dummy table, just that you want to keep the work minimal on the developer front. You have to make use of template tables and do the same thing whatever I am doing. So now the table is ready. So you will not have any data in the target. I have created just a table, nothing else I did. So now I'm going to add a key generation transform quickly so that we use the key generation to populate a surrogate ID here. So key generation, it does nothing. It's just going to index in whatever way you want it to. So in the surrogate ID field, I say the table name is the target table name, whichever we have created now, which is this one, and generated key ID is going to be the surrogate ID. Incremental value, guys. Some of the companies they will not go with an incremental value of 1. They'll sometimes go with an incremental value of 5 because they want the future numbers to be generated in a sequence, whichever is getting generated from online application or something. But by default it is always 1. But there is no rule that you should keep it 1. You can keep it in any increments you want it to. So I just have validated it. If you see, the validation is good. Now we will run it in the debug mode and see if the key generation worked properly or not. And then we will look for the XML as a source, which is also an one of the uh, recent usage. I mean, people are using this XML transform. I mean, XML as a source rigorously, and so we'll have to look into that more clear so that you understand. Because yesterday I know there should not have been much time for me to show you that. So today let me try one more time. So the data got inserted, and all you see is this surrogate ID is it got 12 numbers there. In the same way, while we are on here, I would also show you one other thing. Though it is not a very important transform, but sometimes it may be useful, which is the what is it, row generation. Actually, I mean, as we are doing the key generation, people may be uh, looking at the row generation and be surprised what this does. So I just wanted to even show that parallelly, saying it can generate a row of data here. So if I go here, pull out this can be a source, you see here. And we are also going to learn one more thing, that you can do two parallel mappings within a data flow. A data flow, how to do parallel mappings? It is just like this. This is also one of the important things you'll learn. So I wanted to show you. So I'm going to put a template table just to say this is a row generation example. So I will say this as status table, just to give some example. I'm putting that. So in the row generation also I pass a query transform and connect it to the target. Now you'll see what I can do with the row generation. So I'm asking row number starts with 0, row count is 1, that is by default. And in the query transform, if you go, you see di row id, so it can generate a sequential number like row id 1 2 3 4 5 as the key generation transform does. And it can do more than that. What by more than that I mean is, if you say new output column and insert below, you can say job underscore name as a varchar, and one more new output column, insert below, and we will say data flow under name. So this is a simple status table, guys, I'm trying to put here so that you understand that we can use key generation to achieve this. So I'm putting insert below and say start date, and start date is always a date and time will be comfortable for us to put. And one more output column, which is end date. So when we are left over with no source, we just use this and build a table for us, and also insert the first record very easily. So end date is, again I'm putting a date and time field here. So we have everything. So in the job name, I will say there is a function which will automatically pull the job name. So I'm building a status table from here, and there is a data flow name function which can pull the data flow name whichever we are running into. And system date is going to be populated as a start date, just as a default. And end date is also sysdate, maybe plus 365, just as to keep it as high as possible. I have given 1 year, and if I do a validation here, everything appears good for me. So we don't have a source. It is similar to the date generation transform whichever you saw earlier. The same way, there we were generating a date, whereas here we are generating a different record. I mean, a row of data can be generated here. So every time it runs the job, if you have this, it is going to create a status for each data flow or workflow which you are running here. So I'm going to just kick this off, and also you are going to notice that we are running two parallel mappings within a data flow, and this is acceptable in data services. You can run 10 of them, but the performance wise, it is going to be a big issue when you have huge volumes of data, because the memory allocation, the job server processing speeds, everything are applicable to this. When you do at the data flow level, it is always better. But within a data flow, there are some scenarios where we may require this failed. I know the reason, because the target has a duplicate key here, so we have to go and delete the data before we insert it again. So that's the reason it failed. So let me enable saying delete data before load, so that I will not have any issues. or I can manually go and delete it from here. That is also one of the easy ways. Whichever is comfortable, we can do it. So now I don't have any more data in that. So if I run, it should execute successfully. That is my assumption. But if it doesn't execute, if you be patient, it is the same problems you're going to face, and it is better you face all these problems at this moment so that you know how I debug the solution for that. So if you see the data flow completed successfully, we can go and view data here. If you see the job name is captured as job underscore e, I will tell you the reason why it captured, why did not it capture the full name. And data flow name, it just have put an empty value there because it cannot capture the data flow name inside the data flow. You will have to be outside the data flow to get the data flow name. That is the secret there. But we can make it working in a different way by putting a script there. So I will show you how to make it work. And why the job name is not captured fully, you see there, is I did not change the number of characters that get generated, because by default it gives only 4, sorry. So let me make it 40. We are going to rerun anyhow. There should not be any problem. And because the data flow name did not capture here, what I'm going to do is I will use a global variable here, which will be g underscore df underscore name. I mean, this is going to be initialized. Where I'm going to initialize this, it's going to be outside the data flow. So you all understand where to initialize the data, I mean, global variables. So it is also a point that you can make note, and you can make use of it anytime you want it. So here if I put the data flow name, it should pass on to this variable, and because I defined a variable here, I have to declare it or else it's going to throw an error. So I go here, I make it as a global variable, and I put some it as a varchar, and I can give even 100, which doesn't matter for it. So now we are good, and if I just validate this job, we should be good to run the job and see if it is creating what we want it to. We do have the earlier record, so I'm going to keep it sacred. I don't want it to delete that. So in this option, let it be there, but in this option, because it's going to drop the table and recreate, you'll not notice if I allow it to drop and recreate. So let me go here and make that as a permanent table. I mean, I'm trying to be very quick here because these are not very important transforms, but they're just good to know transforms. So I'm trying to show you quick and dirty. I think you'll be able to catch it because this is the same exercise we are doing every day, like how I do a template table, import it and make it a permanent table, and do a uncheck on this, just that not to delete the data. This is all known things for you, I'm expecting. So I'm rerunning the same job in the debug mode. Let us see if the debug mode works or not here. If it doesn't work, then we can go back to our original mode. Why am I running in debug mode is to show you that the data flow initializes whatever the global variable which we gave even. So in the di row id, it started again with 0. So in the query, if you see, still the data flow is null. So but the job name got fixed here. That is one good thing. So let me stop debug and see what are the results here. So there should be a way to fix it, but it takes only a couple of minutes again to go through it. Oh, you see here, still the job name is 4 characters. I mean, this is all you'll have to learn from what we do, because I changed it there, but I did not change the column length that is being created. You see, the target length is only varchar of 4, whereas your input is more than 4. It automatically truncates rest of the characters. If we saw a warning, it should have thrown a warning saying your target value is less than your source value, kind of thing. I mean, the number of characters, if you see here, when you say view, it already gave that warning. It is only I didn't check the warning properly before I did. So it is a learning exercise for you. If you see, it all displays in the way saying your source has 40 characters, whereas your target column has only 4 characters. That's the reason it did not give us. And to understand why did not it give the data flow name, what we can do is we can put a print statement here so that we know what has happened, why it did not give us a data flow name. This is all the ways we debug it, guys. Data flow name is, this is the debugging technique anyone uses in data services, by putting a print statement just below that, so that you'll know what has happened, why did not it pull uh, uh, the the value you want. So I have to put a concatenate symbol because they have to be displayed all at once and revalidated. So we are good there. So how to change the target size? I have to go back and fix it again. But here the row count, every time it is putting one row number starts at 0. I can say row number, let it start at 1, or I can make it as an increment number by doing more on it. It is not going to increment unless I say it to increment. It will just by default put a record there. So if we say increase the row count, it can put anything like more records. So let us try to put 2 records and see what will happen. It shouldn't be a problem, but you'll understand when you try to do it. I'm not going to fix the target right now. There is surely a way to fix it by generating a new template table. If you want, we can just take up this, put one more table so that it generates whatever I want. So I'm putting it as status 1, just that to make it unique. And now if I join it here, it will get the correct number of characters that it is required, because it gets created at the runtime. So I execute it again. Let us see what will happen now. We will go and look at the debug log so that we see if the data flow name is being captured, if it prints or not. So here it is not printing the data flow name. So there could have been a reason why is it not printing the data flow name. That is fine, but currently what we know is this is a debugging technique. You'll know that this particular global variable is not getting the value what it should get. So how to fix it again? There are certain ways that you'll have to follow, that you'll be learning on the flow. Like when you go into the real-time environment, you learn all that. But there is going to be always a rule. When I call this function, I can go and check the rule, what is a function. So they should be under miscellaneous functions, I think, if I'm not wrong. So data flow name, so returns the data flow name in which this call exists. If the call is not in a data flow, returns null. So it should be actually inside a data flow. That's what it says, and we are using it at the right place. I'm thinking so, but due to some reason it is not getting it. And there are a number of ways that we can go and fix it, but we are not going to look at it all that ways now. So need not worry about it. But just that you know there are a lot of functions to use, and work on it. Just take some example and you should be able to understand it really easy. So I'm just executing it again so that we'll see what are the new changes that we made, or actually effective or not. So still the data flow name is empty. That is fine, let it be empty. I'm not bothered about it. Let us go and see what has happened to the rest of the items. So see here, now it introduced 2 records because I made there it has 2, and it has a start date and an end date. Everything is the same, but the only difference is here I asked it to insert 2 rows. Starting with number 1, I said row count is 2, so it tried to insert 2 records for me. So you put more logic into the query transform, saying whatever you want for the first record, you want something else for the second record, put a decode statement, it does that for you. So it is all how you try to put the logic in there. It can create and it can do that magic. So just to show you that it can do more transforms, I try to do that, guys. So I have to show one important transform, which is our XML source, which I'm going to repeat it. Yesterday I did it, but because I was quick and dirty, maybe a lot of people did not get it. I'm going to repeat the same thing and see if it works today. So I'm going to delete this. Though you have a backup, it doesn't matter if today if it is going to work or not work, but most probably it should work. So was there a question? Someone try to unmute them, I think so. Guys, whatever so far we saw, is it okay for you, or uh, whoa, am I too fast that you couldn't get it? Guys, you there? Okay. So well, when one guy is able to understand, do I need to assume, or any one of you are going to say, okay, proceed forward, or you can stop me anytime. Just let me know if there is some confusion. I can spend more time, guys. Okay, there is no voice, so I feel everyone are comfortable. So let us do this source XML as the source. So quickly to just tell you, to do an XML as a source, you will have to do two things. The first thing is you will have to define a file format, which is the data type definition. Here in the object library, you see the flat file. Under it, you also see a DTDS. So under this, you can create a new file. So give it a file name, material master. I'm just giving some file definition name, so that is fine. Browse through the file. You will go to the location where you have a sample file that is being provided, which is in the tutorial files. Take that file as your source and say root element name. What is the main element, which is like our primary key? XML calls it as a root element name. It is the material master list is the root element name, and just say okay. Now we have created the material master DTTS definition file. So you make this XML file as source, get into the XML file, and actually point to the data file, which is also located in the same folder. So we are going to go there. This is the material XML document that we have it there. So I say enable validation, and the format name is material master, which we named here, and that's it. If you just come out of it, you have created an XML as a source. Perfectly all right. You have the XML here, but just not like flat file. You have more things to do for an XML file. So you connect the query transform, and after you connect, you'll realize that you cannot do a direct mapping here. So I have connected it, and let me get a target table from our data warehouse environment. Here I go, my target, whichever I defined yesterday, I can use the same target and just truncate the data, whatever I have loaded there. So it is a material dimension, which I put it as a target, and I join it. And if you go into the query transform, unlike the other sources and targets, this you cannot map directly. If you try to map directly, it is not going to work, because XML is again a language, guys. It is extended markup language, so it has its own way of defining a file. That is the reason you cannot do a direct mapping. To get this working, what we will have to do is, we will have to first, to make it easy, this is the option that you just select all this and say cut, so they are gone. But we can create those output columns anytime based on our target definition. But what we are trying to do here is, we are going to get the same definition of the source XML. That's all we are trying to do. So I copied from the left hand side everything onto the right hand side, and I can delete all this, but the format is copied. Here the format is important for me. So after you copy here, you'll have to right click and say make current. Then it becomes the current schema you are looking into, and you can just select all this and say delete, because we don't need all these fields. All we need is the new target fields, which I have to put in there. So I am trying to clear the existing field. So whichever you want to delete, make it current, and you should be able to delete it. So it is gone. And now I wanted to actually put back those uh, uh, copied columns. So I will say paste. It is pasting at the end, but I wanted to paste it under the material master itself. It is not going to be an outside schema, so I don't want them to be here. So it's a little bit of confusion here, but when you start working, the tutorial will guide you really easy and you should be able to do it yourself. So let me see in the second attempt if I get it now. Okay, actually what we need is actually these fields to be mapped to the source, and so we are trying to get the same XML format. That's what we are trying to do, but it is just playing a little bit here. So what I will have to do is make this as current, and then in here I will say paste, insert above. Now we got it there. So in here, I don't need even the remaining fields. All I need is the actual format. So I got the format. I'm in a good shape. I don't need all these fields. I can delete them. I can even delete this one. So now I have actually a hierarchical format as I have in the source. So I can map them directly and they accept now. It is simply blind rule, guys. For XML, you'll have to do it like this. That is the way data services work for an XML file. I don't know about any other ETL tools how they deal with XML, but here it is like this. So you just blindly follow the way when you have this XML format, you should be able to do. After you're done with everything, now if you validate, you don't have any issues, but it still gives you some warning saying your target is a different data type, your source is different data type, something like that. So it can give you more warnings, but when something is not relevant, don't care for it, because for XML file by default every field is treated as a varchar 1024, which is the maximum length I think it can go up to, so it has kept it like that. But the final step you will have to do before you run the job, you'll have to right click here and say unnest with subschemas. Don't ask me what is this kind of option. It is more about the XML files, how they do it, and I'm only narrating you a procedure how to make it work in data services. So unnesting is if you are a programmer, you'll know you have written the XML file. It has a parser. The parser will have actually a sequence of steps. So we are trying to unnest them so that it gets the data directly into the fields we want it to get. So if we say unnest, you will notice a small blue arrow appearing there. After the blue arrow appeared, you can still validate it again. And now if you run the job, it should work properly and it should be able to load the XML data, XML as a source and a target table. Target is just a relational table which we were loading even yesterday. So let us see if it loaded. Yes, it loaded the data, and let us go back and see what has happened. If you see at the source, there is one record here, so which is actually the format. Material master is just the format file. Where it gets the data is after it reads the format, this is the data inside it, which is all the 6 records. So it actually now you will see 12 records because yesterday we inserted 6 records. The same records are being inserted again by me today just to avoid confusion and show you what we did yesterday. So it is the same thing we did yesterday. So if you wanted to rerun the process and see, you can always do it. And in the tutorial file, if you go and see populating material dimension from an XML file, they narrate it in the same way as I did. So it should be able to help you. And also, I will cut this from yesterday's recording and put the current recording so that there is no confusion for you. And I sincerely apologize for if there was a confusion or because of the speed up in the yesterday's session in the last moment, I tried to put something quick and dirty and it would have confused you. But you know, if you try to practice, the confusion will be avoided. So no worries about it. So we are done with these two transforms, and today I wanted to introduce you to new things. If you don't have any questions, I will proceed forward, or if you have some questions, I will stop there and answer your question before I take up the sales fact table, which is very important. As part of the sales fact table, we are going to do the joiner. We'll do how to do a joiner, and we will also learn the lookup ext, which is also an important functionality in data services. And after that we will go to the data quality, and further we'll also look into how to configure your central repository, how to add your local repository to your central. Everything will be shown to you today. So right now, if you have any questions, go ahead, guys. Perfect. So yeah, when there was no voice from any one of you, I assume that you don't have any questions at this moment, and I proceed forward. But you can raise your hand anytime, guys, because the purpose of my training is not just to give the volume of things, but I want to give something which is sophisticated enough that you don't need to go again read through the manuals and understand it. So I'm trying to do my best there. So that was a repetition from yesterday's class, but it is going to be useful for you. And we learned a new transform, which is the row generation transform. And now comes the important thing. If I go back to the tutorial where we started populating our sales schema. Let me show you the schema and let us recap what we tried to do so far. And then we will populate sales fact table. Till now we were doing only dimensional, but the fact is the rupee, the fact is the measure. So first thing the business looks at is the measure. Dimension is the last thing they will look into. First all they want is the dollar amount. So we are going to load the dollar amount now. So I'm trying to go back to the schema so that you understand what we tried to do so far and where we are. So let me click on the XML file so that you'll understand what we did. So this is the schema we were trying to populate. We were able to populate the sales org dimension. We populated the time dimension. We actually did not populate the employee dimension, but it is just a straightforward load which you can do yourself. We already populated the material dimension, and now we are at the place where we wanted to do the sales fact dimension. So let me click on the sales fact relational table and show you what we are going to do. So sales facts is not a single table. It is a merge of more than one table. So we would actually come across some little bit of complexities while getting data into it. We'll see where the sales fact table sits in the source. The first thing we'll have to do is go back to our source schema under ODS. Look for what are the tables you have. So these were your source tables, guys. So if you look at these all, you tell me which makes sense. You have an ODS sales order. Let us see how they are relational. To understand the relationships, I'm trying to show you some data. Here you see sales order number, the order date, the customer who ordered it, net order value, which is $3,204. Our order status is a D, which is like dispatched or in shipping, something like that. So there is an order status and order timestamp when the order is given. So this is we are getting this particular data looking at the sales order. So when you have made an order, it comes up like this. After the order is made, there is a lot of process going behind the screen. Only then the item gets shipped to you. So under order, you have one more table called as order items, sales items, sorry. So each order will have more than one items. If we wanted to look them parallelly, I don't know if I have a way here, but let me see here. I mean, we can always join two tables and do the same thing going back into data services so that you can understand it easily. Yes, I do see the two queries here, sales fact and sales items. So this is EDW sales fact, sorry. So this is not the table. We don't want that. So in here, just try to notice, guys. Let us see one by one really close. You have this particular sales order number. First, look at the first two columns. Sorry, first two rows of data. In the second column, the sales order number. I'm going to get it out and keep it here just for our understanding. So we are going to talk about one sales order. We'll have to understand the process before we build a fact table there. So I'm trying to show you this. So there is a sales order number. This is in the sales items. This sales order number has two items. Each quantity is different. and each material ID is different. Their price is different. Their item timestamp and the requested date, they are the same because they are requested within the same sales order. So let us go to the sales order table and see if I can find this particular sales order. ODS dot ODS underscore sales order. So you see this particular sales order. This is the is this the same one? PT 42s and 1000. Yes. So it is the customer ID whom the order is being raised, and the net value is this one. And so these are two in relation, guys. The one important thing you'll have to understand is sales order table is tightly coupled with the sales item table because an order may have more than one items. It can be treated as one transaction or more than one transaction. Depends on the granularity that you wanted to maintain in your data warehouse. So the current requirement is everyone wants to track their items for related to each material. They don't want to track it at the order level or invoice level. They wanted to track it at the independent item level, which is our material. And so if you look close, you have the material dimension sitting here. You have the sales org dimension and the time dimension. So we want the data at the material dimension level, not at the order level. So that is what is important for you to understand. Only then we can build a proper sales fact table. So let me also tell you there is one more table. Let us go and look into it, which is the order status. I remember it as order status, but I don't see the table here. So let me see if I have the table here or if I'm missing it. I have to get the table here. So let me go and look at it, the PDF. Is it the order status or something else? I remember it should have been the order status. So let me recheck it before I commit that it was order status. I'm trying to look for the table name, guys. Nothing else I'm doing. Yes, it is ODS sales order. Okay, this is the table we tried to already look into. And order status. Oh, order status is just a column from the sales fact table. So we're taking it from the target. Hmm. Uh, so okay, in the source I should have some table. Okay, the table name is the delivery, guys. I'm sorry. So what is the delivery status of particular item you ordered? Let us go and see in the delivery status. It is the same object or the same order which we saw. These are the two items and this is their address. The delivery quantity is 100 and 100 because when you raise an order, it need not be shipped all at a time. If you look at it as a business, you raised an order for like 10,000 units of cigarettes, but they don't have stock in 10,000 units. They will send you 1,000 units at a time for the next 6 months. It is the business process you'll have to understand. In any ERP system, you'll notice the order, invoice, shipment, or sales accruals. These are all the terminologies that you'll have to understand. But that is the business world. Only when you start working on it, you'll get across the terminology. But for the time being, for the importance, what we are looking at is we wanted to understand what is the order status. So there is one more table which is called as a delivery table in which you will find the order status. So the order status field here is D, which has the most current value. Though the other two tables which we saw may or may not have the correct value, but here you see the order status, you have it here. So in this scenario, we are going to build a sales fact table, which is this one. Let me go back and show you. Okay, I wanted to show you in the database itself rather than showing it just in a pictorial format. So I go to EDW and let me browse through my sales fact. I know there should have been some data in it because I inserted data, I think. So let me delete data from it and we will insert it again. So all I'm trying to do is insert data into my sales fact table, which is the fact. I have built the data warehouse. The main purpose is to get the fact in here and do my analysis around the fact. Dimensions are also very important. I don't say dimensions are not important or anything like that, but facts are the one which business will be interested in. So let us go and look it into the sales fact table, what all it has. So I right click and say select the first 100 records. That is fine, we don't have that. You have a sales document number, sales document line number, document date, order status, material number, customer ID, and the net value. These are all the important fields that they identified. I should have it in the fact table saying which material is bought by which customer, on what date, what is the line item number, and what is the net value that he purchased. So we will have to achieve this into one table, which is we are denormalizing the normal form which was in the source. It was in the third normal form in the source, whereas in the target it is a dimensional model which is a star schema, and so we'll have to denormalize and put the fact into it and the dimension into the dimension table, because we already have the material dimension. So material number is put here, whereas the material name will be in the dimension table. We have the customer ID here. The customer name will be in the material in the customer ID, the customer dimension table, and we have the sales document number here, which is the actual fact. So there could not be anything which is like a dimension for this, because you are not going to maintain the sales document number. This is a transaction that is happening. So that is how we build the data warehouse. So now I get into the real mode of building a fact table, a job that involves a fact table where you learn joins, you learn outer joins. I'm going to show as though you not have it in the PDF. I'm going to show this now. In this, I'm going to say new job, and I'm going to name the job as job underscore EDW underscore 008, and I say it as sales fact, because I'm going to load the fact tables, which is very important for me now. So I take single data flow here, name it as data flow EDW underscore 008 underscore sales fact. I will have no. We can use the workflow, but here it is just only not to waste time creating the workflows. Yes, it is actually a best practice to have a workflow and put the data flow under. You can always do that, but here the purpose is ruled out. The reason I say you, at first I was building jobs like this, in which I was putting in workflow multiple data flows. But now we wanted to do separate jobs for each of the tables, so I don't need any more. There is no much added value for me to put a data flow inside a workflow and then run it. So just to be very quick and show you more things, I'm trying to go in a job, put the data flow directly and use it. But the best practice is always use the workflow and put the data flow in it, put the conditionals, put the script, everything is required. Okay, this is just only for our exercise, guys. This will help you to understand very quick. I don't want it to keep wasting the time just repeating the workflow and all, because we have did it in already in couple of classes, right? So my source tables for this is I don't have the source table here. I will have to import them. So I go here and let me see what were my sources. I exactly will import the same. It was ODS sales items, ODS sales order. So those are the two I want, and the delivery will be as the lookup. I will tell you why is it the lookup even. Just the business scenario is like that always. So I will tell you, but I will have to import those two tables first here for me to start working with. So import by name. So it was ODS sales item, ODS underscore SALESITEM. So I got the table. Now the other table was sales order. So it is Oh, I clicked on a new data store. Why did I do that? Okay. Uh, I have to create just a new table, not the new data store. So here it is ODS underscore sales order. So I have those two tables now. Those are going to be my sources. So I make first one as a source and also the second one as a source. Now, as you noticed, I'm going to show you one more thing here. As you noticed, the sales order number is in this table, which is a foreign key for this particular table, which is sales item. The primary key is in this table, which is the sales order. This is the primary key. This is a relational table for it, which has the foreign key. So there should be an entry in the sales order table to have an entry in the item, which means there should be an order for you to process that order, which comes into the sales item table where you have the line items. So we are trying to join those two tables to achieve both the records. So all we are trying to do is put a query transform, and it makes relevancy that I will have to name it as query join, so that we know that we use this for joining. So now I connect these two tables here. This is how the joiner will work. It is the same database query we can write. We will also see what is the query getting generated. In the where class, you already see these are the two primary key columns in different tables. But here for us, sales order is the master and sales item is the detail. So I have to connect them based on the sales order number and get my data out there. So I'm going to no. Like in Informatica, you have source qualifier and a joiner separately. Because the limitation in Informatica is source qualifier can join only two tables, whereas joiner can join more than two tables. Here, everything is in one single transform, which is the query transform. You can use the query transform to do 100 joins even. You can join 100 tables. So you do have the outer join, which will come a little later, but first thing is the inner join. So this is how I join the tables, and let me see what all the target columns I require. So let me go and see if I have the sales fact table here. I don't have it, so I have to import it. So it would be my sales fact table. I'm just rolling the ball here, saying it should be the sales underscore fact, but I'm not sure if that is the name. If that is not the name, I'm going to go there and get it. Fortunately, I am right. So I make this as a target. I join it. Why I join it? Only after I join, I will know what are the columns I need to populate into the table. So after I join, everything appeared here. So there will be a mapping document in every company, guys. You will have to understand building a data flow you will not do by yourself. Some business analyst or your lead or someone who wrote the document will tell you these two are the sources, these are the columns we want you to extract and populate into so and so table. So based on the document, you are going to do all this. You are not going to do it yourself. So need not worry which column is going to map for which column. You can do it. And while doing it, actually now beyond what business analyst says, you can go and profile the data. That is what data services profiler is important. If you go here, look at the data and click on the profiler. Today we are going to configure profiler even on your machine so that you can make use of it. So click the profiler tab so that you will know what column is, what kind of data you have on each column and what the data is meant for. You can actually look at that data here and it gives you all the information. That is the importance of having the profiler there, which will help you. Before you join, you can go and check the data there easily and then join it, because you'll have to join apples to apples and oranges to oranges. You cannot do the mix of it. If you wanted to do the mix of it, you'll have to use some conversion functions which can do that for you. So let us see most appropriate fields, what that we can extract from source to target. So the sales order number, which I think the SLS document number is the sales order number if I am not wrong. Uh, no, we do have a sales order number here. Okay, they are the dependent items, right? So this is the sales document number. I can map it directly, and let us see the sales doc line number, which I think this is the sales line item ID, which they want here, and the sales document date. So I have the order date here, which should be the sales document date because I don't have any other dates here. I do have the requested date, but that is at the item level. Mm, which one is comfortable? Just for our purpose, I can put anything, guys. There is no harm, but I'm putting this one order date as the sales document date because it is more related to the higher level. And order status, here is the order status directly, but we are not going to use this order status. Let us wait to populate the order status because delivery table is most appropriate table where you have the current order status, whereas the sales order, this table would have got the order, and there will be a refresh interval between these two tables which will take some time to reflect the current here. So we better get the order status from the delivery table. So let us wait for a moment on that. Where do we get the material number? So it should be in one of these two tables, which is the material ID. And where do I get the customer ID? So here is the customer ID. And net value. So net order value is here. So I populated it. Now order status, though I have it here, I want the most current order status, which is in the delivery table. So order status is always, as I told you, it can happen in the last moment just before the data warehouse gets the data. So order status, you'll have to keep it at the runtime. That is the reason we use the lookup functionality here and get the data at runtime, not before. I mean, you know what happens in the source most of the times. Your job is running at 12 o'clock. The job order gets updated even at the same moment. It has to pick at the runtime. That is the importance of the order status, so that data warehouse, the evaluation will not go wrong. So they always wanted to keep the order status at the runtime, and when the job is in session, it can get the latest information and process it and put it into the data warehouse. So order status, you will not take it from these two tables. Instead, you will go to the delivery table, which most of the time delivery is being handled by a different department, and so you want the most current data from the delivery department, not from the order department. So here I click on the order status, I go to the mapping. Here I don't put anything, but the remaining are all mapped, right? So to get the order status, I'm going to build a lookup. So to build the lookup, click on functions. You have all kinds of functions here. Click on the lookup functions. You have lookup, lookup ext, and sequence number. Sorry, you have the lookup, lookup ext, and lookup seq. We will not try to look into the lookup seq, which is only required in very complex cases where you want to do an SQL override and all. We will have to look at the lookup and lookup ext. Lookup is also going to work in the same way as lookup ext, except that let us directly go into it and see how is it different from lookup ext. So first I will take assuming lookup will work for me. So if you see, I can give the table, whichever is the lookup table I wanted to look for this particular data. So I wanted the ODS delivery. So I don't see the table here. Let me go back to my data store and import the table before I make use of it. Oh, this came out. You know, when this comes out, actually it is a little bit tough to place it back. But if you go to view and say apply default layout, it will apply. Let me repeat that. So when it happens like this, guys, things go wrong when you try to move it here and there. To align them back easily, go to view and say apply default layout. It gets back to the original layout, because it happens a lot of times. I mean, you can always do a manual adjustment, but still, quick and dirty, that's the easiest way. So if I go here, I wanted to import that table, which is ODS underscore delivery. So I have the table now. Now I can use it as part of my lookup. So I go to the lookup functions. I will do the plain lookup first and see if that works. So I go to the ODS. I have the ODS delivery, and the result column I wanted to capture the result column. The result column is in the delivery. I want the delivery status, which is the most current. So where is the delivery status here? Yeah, here. Delivery order status and default value. If at all there is no value there, what do it need to return? I will say default is null value, which means the order is not fulfilled or empty, or I can say unknown. This is also possible, right? Most of the cases. And cache, you have three kinds of cache here. No cache, preload cache, demand load cache. No cache cannot get the data into memory while processing, so it will be slow. It will be runtime. Every record it gets and then processes it. So in general, when in session, I prefer preload cache, which is good performance wise. And comparison column. What column I have to compare this just to get that information. So to get the order status, let us look at the order the delivery table to see what is the common column we have that we can compare. So let me go into the table. So what I have here is I have to join by sales order number and I have to join by the order item number. Only then I can get the unique information about the order status, because the order status is not at the order level, it is at the item level, which is in the second table. So I have to do two joins here. So column to compare. So I have to go and compare it with the sales order table, in which I have sales order number. 2, I have to compare it to my own column, which is a ODS delivery, right? In the ODS delivery, I have the sales order number. So I can compare it like this and say finish. But now comes the point, where can I give my second join condition? Without making a second join, it is going to be a Cartesian product, because I tried to explain you the relationship, right? See, the order status or the delivery status is by item. It is not by the order number. Each order has more than one item. So let us say, for example, on Amazon.com, you have ordered your own laptop. You'd be surprised to see the laptop bag arrives first, then comes the laptop, because those are being shipped by different companies. They sell it as one bundle product. So you get recently, even when I ordered the server, I got the antivirus software before I got the server. So it is like that. So you are not only going to relate it with the order number, but you'll have to relate it with the item number. But is there a possibility here? No, I don't have possibility. I can only join one column here. Why it threw an error is a different story, because I will have to give the double quotes or embed the table name before the column name. So that is fine. But what I'm trying to show is, if you go back, you don't have an option to give more than one join condition if you use a normal lookup. That is what I wanted to show you. In the comparison columns, maximum is you can give only one particular column to compare. You cannot give an and say more than one compare statement. So in that situations, we cannot use a normal lookup. So this lookup is ruled out. I want two joins. To do two joins, I have to go and do a lookup ext, which means lookup extension. In this, you will see that you can do more than one joins. You can get more than one values and return. Everything is possible. The lookup has its own limitations, though it has the same kind of a performance and everything works in the same way. Lookup ext can give you more flexibility, that you can join or lookup based on more than one condition. The return value can be different. It can do more than a normal lookup. So let us see how it helps us here. So I'm going back to the same ODS delivery table. I picked it up. I have the same three options that I saw there: no cache, preload cache, and demand load cache. I will say preload cache is the best option, whereas no cache is, it will not cache any data. It will get record by record at the runtime, which is the performance wise is sometimes good, sometimes bad. Demand load cache is I think it is at the when the when it is in session, when it reaches that particular lookup table, then it pulls the demand load cache. Whereas preload cache is just before the job is running, just before we start the job, it gets the data into memory table. So there is a little difference between demand load cache and preload caching, which is very minimal. But then when people want it to really go and look at the order status or the delivery table in the nick of moment when you are loading it, then they put it as a demand load cache instead of preload cache. Okay, columns in the lookup table. I have to now find out what are the columns I wanted to compare. I wanted to compare the Dell sales order item. It is equal to only. So on the other side, I have to give which is the table I wanted to join and which is the column I wanted to compare it. So I have the order number. Is this the same? Okay, I have the order number here. So I take it. So if you see here, it has to come like this. Earlier it did not come up like that, and that's the reason it threw me an error. But I wanted to show you the important point. So here you have flexibility that you can add more than one condition, whereas a normal lookup function you cannot add more than one condition. That is the importance there. So you can join line item and you say okay. Oh, where is the line item now? I don't see it. Let me do one more time. So I go here, add the line item number and say okay. Now it got in there. So you can even do more. If you wanted to keep adding, it gives you more. That is the purpose of lookup ext. I have to cut this, I think, or else it's going to trouble me. Delete row. Delete. That's all. So in here even the output column. What is the output you want after we compare on that? We want the delivery status, right? So we go here and say delivery order status. Let us say I don't have a value. What do you want me to return? You want me to return a null value? Yes, I can do that. Or in general, I prefer to return it as unknown. So the status of it is unknown because in data warehouse, when there is no status, null values are not permitted. So they just put that as unknown and will give a -1 for the dimensionality just to show that this record still flows in, but we don't know the value of it. And here you can always pass a global variable for the unknown or for the default value. That is also allowed. You can put a global variable like this and it gets the global variable at the runtime, whatever the value you want it to pass. That is also permitted. And order by. This is an optional field. If you want it to order by, it is always good if you order by if there is an indexing field so that it actually does great performance. But here we don't have anything like an indexing field, so I don't think that is a relevant thing to put here. But if you have something like a surrogate ID or a source index ID, something, you always wanted to put that. So in the return policy, you have three things, which is a max, 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 ns, and min and min ns. I don't remember using this max ns and min ns, which are I think new ones. But in general, by default, it is always return policy is max. If you ask me what is the reason if we keep it minimum, I actually never tested with min and max. It is I will leave it as an exercise. You go and find it. What is the difference between min and max when we use a return policy? But for me, when it says max, return me whatever the maximum values it written. That's all it is. So I say finish. Now if I go back here and say validate, it is successfully validated. Now we have everything here. If I run this, the sales fact table will get loaded. So the job is valid. I have one conversion warning. I'm fine with the conversion warning, or let me go and see view. What is the conversion warning? All it says is that I'm converting a decimal, which is a 15, 2 in, whereas the target column is a varchar of 15. But that's how the data model is. So we are not going to change anything. In the source, it was a decimal, but in the target, they wanted to store it as a varchar. So let us keep it like that. It is just an implicit conversion. Before we run the job, let us go and see in the validation statement what it displays. So it has a join condition here. So that is the most important thing we need to notice. Till now we never did any kind of a job with a join condition, but here we are doing a job with joining two tables and giving a condition there. So that is what you see here. So I say close. The validation is Go ahead. No, no, no. Don't get confused with the join that is in lookup. That is not going to get displayed. The join we are looking at, that is this one. So there is only one join between two tables. Whereas the lookup we did is a third table. That third table is kind of a memory table which is in the lookup ext function. It is not going to show that in the optimized SQL because this is at the runtime. Okay, in the runtime lookup extension, yes, I have put two joins. Those are the two joins which you are looking at it here. If you see, these are the two columns which we join, but this is a different table which is the order or what is it, delivery status table. Okay, yeah, now I'm going to run this job so that you'll see the data. Finally the fact table is got loaded, and we got to celebrate the moment if you load the fact table, because we have almost built the data warehouse now. We saw the type 1 dimension, type 2 dimension. We are loading the sales fact table. We used the lookup. We used lots of transformations that have been given. We have used even the best practices and finally loaded our data warehouse successfully. You see all the 12 records got loaded here. Now there is an importance of the outer join. I will show you what an outer join is and how do we treat it. So if you see here, there should have been some missing data in the source, and so you see this particular sales document value as null, but that is fine. If it doesn't have the value, it doesn't get it, right? So that's where we'll go with the outer join and then try to do something better. But currently, strictly whatever we did is successful. We have loaded all the 12 records and there are no duplicates. If you see, they got loaded properly. There are no duplicates. When you see the doc number, also notice the line item number. There is an IT1010, IT1011. So they are not duplicates. They are two different materials even. So finally we loaded our data. Perfect. Now we come to the outer join stuff. Let us say I have some order. This is a special requirement, always comes up in a data warehouse environment. I have an order. The order is being raised, but the items are not yet evaluated, not yet shipped, because it is a last minute order. The order came in at night 12 o'clock, just before my data load is going to happen. So you have an entry in the order status, you don't have an entry here, but you still want it to record because there is an order that is being raised and the order has some sales amount on it, right? Net order value. You may not have the item level details, but you still wanted to capture the order. How do we do that? How do we do that is using an outer join here. So you go here, though the join condition is not satisfied, and please don't ask me now to explain what is an outer join. I think I have explained it on the board when I last time dealt with the database. I tried to show you the outer join. You'll have to practice yourself and then understand the outer join in a better way. But here all we are trying to do is, Ganesh has made an order on Amazon.com for a laptop. He has two items under it, which is a laptop and also a laptop bag. The items are being ordered, but they haven't gone through the delivery process or they haven't gone through the item level to look at it. All he has is a simple order in which the items are put in there. So the data warehouse load has kicked off. So the data is only in the master table, but it did not flow into the child tables, which is our line item and also the delivery table. So how do we get that particular record into our data warehouse is what we are trying to achieve through the outer join. You click on outer join, you see the outer source and an inner source. Right click here and say insert. So the outer source is always the parent table, whereas the inner source is always the child table. So here my parent is sales order, my child is sales item, because order is at the higher level and I am trying to capture those orders which doesn't have the line item in it. So that's all it is. It's an outer join. If you wanted to do a full outer join, that is not possible just in one single query transform, but you will have to do two query transforms saying this is the left outer join, this is the right outer join, and finally it makes up a full outer join. But you will have to first go and get yourself educated with this join conditions and how to play with them, because that is not going to be covered as part of the class now, because I have already shown it earlier and I think most of you understand what is an outer join. Now if we go and look at the validation SQL, uh, the outer join is not yet populated. The reason is I haven't saved the job. Let me save the job, because only when we save and or when we do a validation, it gets into it. So now I go and see the validation SQL. You will see here the syntax is changed. Left outer join sales order items, and you got that. So that is the outer join condition. And let us reload the same table and see if there is some data that is relevant that it comes up as an outer join. I don't know if I have created that scenario or not, but trying to show you quick and dirty. I'm running the same job again in the debug mode, so that if we'll see if there is an outer join condition that exists in the data, we will see the data like that. So I get inside. Let me go and see the outer join. There are 14 records now. Actually, if you see, the target earlier had only 12 records. So the outer join condition does exist. If you see here, these are the two new records that did not get into the data warehouse earlier. The reason is they don't have the line item number. So I have created the scenario just before we started the class. I inserted this data so that we'll have the scenario properly to make you understand. If you see, the order status for this is U and U, which means unshipped or some status, which means the order is not yet executed. Whereas D stands for delivered, so it is delivered and it has the order date and final things. Whereas you don't have the date and condition for this. Or if you see, there is no line item for this, and we are trying to put the material number and line item from the sales item table, but I don't have this. But still I can capture the net value, saying the net value for this particular customer who has raised this order is 1352, because that is business for me. Though it is not been shipped, still the invoice is raised. I can account it. So that's how it is. And tomorrow if they say, for example, the order is not shipped or order is cancelled, they will send into the data warehouse a negative order, so that they will send a minus 1352, so it gets nullified. That is how they do a soft delete inside a data warehouse. Okay guys, do you understand? Did you understand the sales fact and how I did the outer join, or any questions so far? Wow. Okay, no problem. So let us take out the condition, whatever we have, the outer join here. I'm going to delete it and then redo. So now, even before we do that, if we wanted to do a quick join in our source and look at the data, it makes more sense than running it again, because now I don't have an outer join. Okay, let me save the job or validate the job so that it gets registered. So now if I do a validation, I don't have an outer join here. Let us go back and look into the data so that you get more explanation on what the outer join is, and you will understand it better. So I'm running this query. You see the output here, and notice that you have 12 records here. The fetched number where a mouse is pointed. Do you see there are 12 records here in the source? So this is a perfect inner join condition. Now I'm going to do an outer join here. All I need to do outer join, I think in MySQL, if I am not wrong, if I put a plus symbol here, it should work. Oh, here you have to put a star. Okay, let me take your word, but there is a 9i join which I can always do, because that is ASCII format. I mean ANSI format. Oh, okay. Okay. Still it shows a red underscore, which means it is wrong. But let me run. So it is wrong. Let me do my own way of joining so that it is easy for me. So left outer join. This is universal, guys. The left outer join which I am doing now is actually the ANSI. No, not what is it? ANSI standard format. So left outer join, and I have to say on and give this. This is universal. It works in any database. So let me use that instead of something. Yep. Thank you. So now I do the left outer join. This is the best and easiest way so that it won't go wrong for me. You will see the data is going to increase now. Notice that. That is the important thing. There are 14 records. Why we got 14 records here? Because there is one item, there is one order which the data is not yet entered into the sales item table because they haven't processed the order. Still, they just got the invoice at the nick of moment at 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. Ganesh, just before sleeping, he wanted to order a laptop. He find a good deal. He ordered. He did not. I mean, the company is not working at night 12 o'clock to make what are the items there and send it to the warehouse to get it shipped. So, but still, I wanted to capture that as part of my data warehouse because that is my business requirement. Business wants to capture every order that has been raised before 12 o'clock. So how do I achieve it? So to handle this scenario, I go into data services. In the query transform, instead of doing an inner join, I go to the outer join tab, right click and say insert. In here, my outer join source is always the master, which is the sales order. My inner join source is always the child, which is the sales item. That's all I did. When I do this and say validate, it validates and saves it. And now if I go and look at the optimized SQL, I will see if it is got generated the way I want. Yes, it got generated the left outer join in the same way as I did it at the MySQL this prompt here. So if I execute this job, instead of 12 records, I will get 14 records. If you go now, you look at the target. We do have both the the data that we inserted in the first time and the data we inserted the second time. We do have both of them. If we just query here, you would get 26 records. The first 12 records are the first time inserted. The second 14 records are the next time inserted one. You can actually differentiate between. If you see these two, these first 12 records, these are the records which I inserted first time. There are two extra records here which I inserted later because of the outer join. Did you get it, guys? Perfect. Any other questions before I move on to something else, which is I wanted to show you some data quality. So I have reserved my customer data. Today we are going to load the customer data, which we haven't loaded so far, I think. Let me go and make sure if I am right or not. In the EDS EDW environment, let me see the customer dim. If it is loaded, even I'll truncate and reload it. Yes, this was the one which we were playing so far. But let us go and use our data quality so that we correct this address or anything. But before doing that, I actually have to give a presentation on data quality, which I will do it. But so far, any questions, guys? No questions means no one has worked on any of the jobs which I have given you. Yeah, someone had a question. Oh, okay. Anyone else? Let me go over the room if everyone understand how I loaded the sales fact and how I did the lookup, because we did two important things today. So Ashok, do you have any questions at this moment? Ashok, you there? Okay, Hilal. Okay, Hilal, Krishna. You want more information on lookup? Is that what it is? Okay, I will deal that for you. And how about you, Sridevi? Do you have any questions? Shauri? Shauri, do you have any questions? Syed? Yes, I do. Okay, Syed, do you have any questions? Okay. In the lookup, you are not assigning granularity or anything. No, that is a wrong assumption. Okay, let me also it also comes with the same question because Krishna wants to have more information on lookup. So let me deal it in a different way so that you get what I tried to. Let us go back into our sales fact data flow, whichever we did, guys. Let me go back and in the order status, I'm not going to have this anymore. Let me delete it. Let me say I don't have the order status. It's just a null value now. Let me go and delete my target. So just to make you understand what we are trying to do, I'm doing this. I will I will answer your question, Krishna, because we are going to do the lookup again. So I deleted my target data, guys. Now I don't have any kind of a lookup. I don't want the order status. All I want is just the order and its information, whatever is whatever these two tables has. Because shipping company is different. The delivery is made by a third party, which the data comes a little late. So I don't want to load the order status. I can always load just the sales order and its items. So the granularity here is at the item level. It doesn't depend anything on the order status. Is that clear now? So order status is something which we are getting from a shipping company saying the order is being placed and did you execute the order? Is it being shipped? What is the UPS tracking number? And so that the customer can track it. Finally, he gets it updated as shipped. So we are ignoring the order status for now and let us run the show. I do have the outer join still. That is fine. Let it be there. Now I run the job without having the lookup because lookup would have created a little trouble for you to understand what are we doing in the lookup. Let us run the job without the lookup statement and see what has happened. So the job ran successfully. Go into the target, look at the data, the sales fact data. Oh, I have deleted data only from customer dim, not the sales fact. So let me redo it, man. Or else it's going to confuse you. So I will say sales fact and run it again. So whatever I did so far is again the same, but I'm re-executing the job so that I get the right data. Because there will be duplicates because I have run it multiple times. Now the job is ran successfully. Let us go and see what is in my sales fact. So I have these 14 records, guys, because I had the outer join. So I got the 14 records. There is no order status here, but the granularity did not change. Granularity changes if you are inserting more records just because of the order status, but I am not inserting anything else. Order status is a factless fact. You are just giving a logical answer saying the status of order is delivered or shipped or returned or any other status. Did you get it now? So Syed, you get it now? Okay. Now I go back and answer Krishna's question. Krishna, I wanted to get the latest order status. But the order status here is dependent not just on the order number but also the line item number, which is this one. So to fulfill that I wanted to look up not only based on the order number but also the line item number. I have to do a lookup ext. The reason I have to do a lookup ext is lookup function, which is a normal lookup. If you go and see here, it won't allow you to do more than one joins. It can only look up based on one column or one item of the data. If you wanted to look up more than one item, then you will have to go and use the lookup ext function, not the lookup function, which is the lookup ext. If you use a lookup ext, you can actually compare based on more than one columns. That is very important for us. And so I picked the lookup ext. The lookup table which I wanted to look up is the delivery, what is it? The ODS delivery table. So I go here, I pick the ODS delivery table because here is the one which I am going to look and get the delivery status. So I go to the columns which I wanted to look, the lookup to base on. I want to look on the sales order number, which is going to come from the sales order table. So it should be something problem. The mission hanged. Data services closed by itself. It didn't like something what I did. Let me go back and get back on there. Guys, any one of you, are you traveling? I mean, I hear some kind of a noise. Okay, whenever you log off this abruptly and when it says reset user or continue, always use reset user, though your last minute unsaved work may be lost. But if you say continue, the repository is going to get corrupted. So always say reset user and then log in back. Because when data services did not close properly, you get that prompt. Let me see, because the job would have been saved or not saved. So let me go back and see if there is the job. There is the job, which is my sales fact. In this, I was working on the lookup. Let me go and see if I have the lookup. Order status. Yes, I do have that. So in the functions, I go take the lookup function, lookup ext, and I pick up the table which is the delivery status table. And in the columns, whatever I want to compare is the order number. Order number, I'm going to compare it with the order table, which is this table. If I double click, it comes up here and I use that. And the second one I wanted to compare is the item number to the item master table. That is my sales items. In that I have the item number, which is the line item ID. So I say okay. Now it got both the conditions there. So output, what I wanted to get back from the lookup table is the delivery order status. And just in case the delivery order status is null, the output I want is to be coming as unknown. So that I gave. And if I wanted to order by based on the column in the lookup table, I can always do an order by, but here I don't see anything to order by. But if I wanted to order by, this is an optional field, but I can use the item number to order by, and the return policy is always max as default. If you put min, I think it is going to return only certain values, not all the values. So we'll always say return policy is max and say finish. It is got generated now. You see, because I was asked by Krishna, I tried to do something and it finally failed. It still gives me that there is some error here. So that's okay. We can fix it. The error is not a big issue. There is something. Okay, that is a very simple error, man. Earlier there was a null value there, so it came up. So I removed the null value. It works fine. Now if I validate, everything is looking fine. And if I run the job now as it is, you will see that the order status will get loaded. The 14 records will get loaded with an order status. Nothing else changed because we did a lookup just to get the order status. We do have data in target, the same 14 records, but I am not going to truncate it before load. The reason is they will be available for you to compare and understand what we did so far. So here the data is loaded. I reran the job. Now you have 28 records here. Now you can compare. These are the 14 records which got loaded in the second time where they have a delivery status. These are the first 14 records which got loaded without the delivery status. So there is no change in the granular level of the data. The granularity was the same. The lookup was used to fetch the order status. That is what you see here. Perfect. Do you understand, guys, now? Okay. So now there ends the show for whatever is given in the PDFs. We came till here. But the change data capture is more of Oracle specific. I mean, the database has to actually support the CDC operation. Only then you can do the change data capture. But next week, because my server has appeared night, I tried to install Oracle. It still is not working, but I will make it work by some time, and I will try to show you the change data capture when we have Oracle, because Oracle works for the change data capture, not the MySQL environment. So we'll come back to that. Data assessment. This is the most important thing I wanted us to look at it. So data assessment, it is not just only the reporting module that is being given in the tutorial. I wanted to do more at this particular point. I wanted to also embed data quality techniques to improve the quality of data, and then come back and see what is the data assessment module here, how I can audit, or how I can do more statistics by using profiler. You can do all that. That is good. We will come back to that. Just to show you what the data assessment does is, if we log on to data services and look at the operational dashboard, you can actually see whatever we ran so far. But because we are not registered with the central management console, we will not be able to see that. We are going to do today registering the central management console, adding a central repository, everything we are going to do. Adding the profiler, if it is not working, also will be shown to you. So anyone want a break, or do you want me to continue with the data quality presentation? You tell me, guys. Okay, it's 9:50, so I would wait till 10:05, and we'd kick off the data quality, and it will take like 1.5 hours for us to complete the data quality, and we will look into data quality and then try to configure our central management console and also the central repository. Then we'll end the show for today. Okay, guys. Perfect. See you back at 10:05. Take a break. Have a Kit Kat.